you had a 999 head feedlot and it's grown to quite a lot now. Tell us a bit more about that and what that transition's been like for you.
If you said 2019, we would have had probably 400 cattle. Fast forward to today, we've got just over 22,000 cattle on feed at 4 feedlots. Now we're busy, mate. It's myself and my wife, got 3 kids as well and 16 employees. We work really hard. Goodness knows how many other bits and pieces, yeah.
Welcome back to the AgriNous Podcast. Today we've got Jeremy Cummins from Bottlejac Trading. If you are in the livestock industry at any stage, I think you're going to enjoy the show. Welcome, Jeremy, and thanks for joining. I thought where we might start, there's a little bit about you online. You want to tell us about your Xander McDonald experience and where you were at then and to where you are now?
Yeah,
tell us
thanks,
a bit about
Marcus.
your business.
Thanks for having us, mate, and it's good to be here. Xander, I did Xander about 5 years ago, I reckon, in 2022, I think. Why did I do that? I guess I never knew Xander McDonald personally, but I knew a lot about him, and I had a lot of mates who jackarooed working for MDH in the north and had a great reputation for being a good bloke and a progressive producer, so I thought it would be a good opportunity to do something like that, to put myself out there and improve myself. So I applied for that and was lucky enough to get into the final with Charlie Perry and a few others. I've stayed in contact with Charlie since. Charlie obviously won it, but it was a really good experience. Met some really good mentors and people in the industry through it, and since then and to this day I'm still involved in the alumni group of it with, a heap of guys, that went through it, either won it or were finalists. Shed and Spate and Emma Black from Black Box and Luke Evans that works for Cleveland Ag and all sorts of really cool, progressive people. And it's a great network to be a part of, and I'd strongly encourage anyone thinking about applying to apply.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. And so back then it sort of mentioned that you had a 999 head feedlot and it's grown a bit, but it's grown to quite a lot now. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that and what that transition's been like for you?
So I guess just to begin, I'm not off a cattle property. Originally my family were cattle producers. My grandfather was, and my dad left the land, but I got a job with Tees. I went to university, got a job with Tees as a cattle buyer, training cattle buyer, and I worked for them for 10 years. I did all sorts of stuff with them and worked everywhere from Rockhampton to Longreach, Brisbane, Lockyer Valley, southern New South Wales, Wagga, South Australia. So I got a lot of experience and exposure with them, and I ended up getting the job with Tees in Tamworth. So we moved to Tamworth in 2013. So time went on, and then we bought a small property in between Tamworth and Gunnedah, and I started feeding a few cattle at that point just to try and run a few more stock. And then one thing just led to another, and we bought more cattle and fed more, and then we had a part-time employee. And then in 2019, I finished with Tees. Great career, did almost 10 years with them, and went on our own. So at that point, we didn't have an accredited feedlot. We were in the process of accrediting our little feed yard. So if you said 2019, we would have had probably 400 cattle all up. And then if you fast forward to today, we've got just over 22,000 cattle on feed and feed at 4 feedlots.
Serious growth.
We feed at 4 feedlots, 2 of which we own. The original one, which we've developed ourselves, and which we call Angora, which is 1,000 head, and we're increasing it to 4,000 at the moment. And then we bought another feed yard 2 years ago in Dubbo called Morandi, which is a 3,000 head feedlot. So, You
got a bit on your plate then?
Yeah, no, we're busy, mate. We're very busy. Like, it's myself and my wife, Angela. We run the business. She does all of our office administration, and she's the CFO and head of everything else that I don't do. So she's, we work really hard and long hours, and got 3 kids as well, and 16 employees, and goodness knows how many other bits and pieces.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Little did we know, probably over a similar time span. Actually, AgriNous was starting out pretty small, and it's our 10th year, as I touched on the other day with you.
Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah,
I met Joel at Rockhampton Beef Week um, in so next year's beef. So I think it'd be 2 beefs ago. So it'll be 6 years ago. I met
in
Joel
2021
when it was just starting to. We got invited to go to a NAB bank do at Rocky, and we thought, we were just getting sort of a bit of momentum, but we better go. We've been invited. We might meet some, people that will be useful in our network and what have you. So we went up there, and I met Joel in the Cattleman's Bar thing, and he was telling me about this, and I told him the stuff I'd love to see, and I saw him at the show again this year. I hadn't seen him since, and reiterated what I thought about it and what I thought would be useful and where it could be improved. And so it's been really good to see the way that the AgriNous has grown and morphed and changed where needed, which I guess is very similar to what we've done. We do a very different thing to what we did back then. Now we still feed cattle, but we don't do it in the same way that we did. We've evolved and changed several times.
Yes, absolutely. And I guess on that thread, like talking about before and after, can you recall, or even to this day, I'm sure you buy cattle out of yards that aren't using AgriNous. Can you sort of shed a bit of light on that contrast of data availability and having access to what you need when you need it?
The main thing about the difference, like we obviously operate in, every sale yard from Inverell to Wagga every week, and most of those are AgriNous, and there's some that aren't. But the ones that we use that aren't, there's probably not a whole lot of difference on the immediate access to the data. Like say after post sale, we get sent our emails and our XML files, and that's all fine. But where I utilise AgriNous and where AgriNous has got an edge is that it's got instant data on it. So I can look if I'm at Dubbo on a Thursday, I can look at my AgriNous and look at what cattle are being bought at other markets which use AgriNous. So I can say, they've got 50 number one so far at Inverell or at Kempsey or whatever. And I use that as a tool so I can see what other boys, like the other buyers that work for us, are doing.
Yes.
I can also see and go on there after the sale and go through the lots and see what we paid for what cattle, or the staff we have. We don't have to worry about losing an email. We can just go back onto our portal. We download the stuff that we need. It's just like the central point that we've got. But obviously in a perfect world, and I'm sure you guys would love it too, everyone uses AgriNous, and I can just get on there and I can see what's going on at whatever sale yard we're getting cattle bought for us at. I can see what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And we were chatting about that the other day, weren't we? So there's a few different ways we go about making that data available if they've got Bottlejac sort of set up and it's linked up properly. It's just instant, isn't it? Whereas others they might put it down as someone else, and there's a bit of extra steps there sometimes. But I did actually set up for you the other day I just linked the pics over. Did you notice any change after that?
Oh, I haven't been on there since, mate. In that regard, so no, I haven't seen that yet. But
no, that's all right. So no, that's all really good. That's really good. And so in that article about the grain-fed beef feature, you talk a lot about the 1%ers, and so I guess can you sort of shed any light on around just where just data in general is really powerful for you in helping avoid like a 1% stuff up can kind of ruin a day. Like everybody's sort of got their own version of a story like that, but what are some of the ones where you go, geez, we're just that stand out in your memory there where AgriNous has helped you? Do you reckon?
Well, I guess it's just for us. When I talk about the 1%ers, like there's lots of people that feed cattle in Australia, and whether they're the top end of town and 50,000 head feedlot with the steam flaking and all the modern technology, or you're down to the guys that are, feeding whole grain. They're all feeding cattle, but I guess what my mentality has been since we started feeding cattle, and the mentors that I've had, was to just pick off the little things that the other guys your size or bigger are doing that you're not doing, and then working out which of those things are the easiest things to get done first. So they, often people refer to it as low-hanging fruit. So we've been on a journey for the last 5 years or 6 years. We've been really focused on data and getting our inventory and our data entry and our collection of all of our livestock data really, really solid. So we trace and manage all of our livestock on a system, even if we buy them at a sale yard and send them to adjustment, and we don't actually ever physically see the cattle in our yards. We've got all that in one central location. So where AgriNous is useful is that if we do like a paddock buy and we weigh them at Wangaratta, I get that file on our buyers portal. So I can then upload that file, or I don't do this, I shouldn't say our team can upload it to our feedlot management system, which runs all our cattle, with all the costs of those cattle. And that's the starting point for where we begin our data collection process. So a good example would be buy 3 loads of cattle at Barnawatha, direct out of the paddock, but they're weighed and scanned at Barnawatha. You get the scan file off the portal. We upload those costs, individual weights, onto our system, and then that's when we can start adding on freight charges or feed charges or adjustment charges, so that then by the time we get to the point when we're going to slaughter those cattle after they've been on adjustment, they might go from Barnawatha to adjustment paddock. We've got to add adjustment fees. Then they truck from the adjustment paddock to the feedlot where we custom feed. There's a trait invoice there, and there's an induction fee. All these fees and all these points are being added on as we go.
Yes.
So I guess what AgriNous does is just starts with the proper base. There's not an estimated or an average price that I've made up. It's the actual pricing of the actual animals that have been scanned.
Yes, yeah, and you can if you're waiting on the invoice, normally that can sometimes be a bit of delay. And this way you've got an idea of what's coming and can check off, I imagine.
And that's the beauty of what this is if AgriNous is that if we're waiting on another part of our business supply chain, like a induction at another feedlot that we feed at, we can still have the process of the cattle being entered into our system done at the point where we get the information from AgriNous. So we can then go, well, we had 200 cattle scanned and exited through Barnawatha or whatever, and then they've only inducted 199 out at whatever feedlot. So we can say, well, there's one missing, or this is a replacement tag, and we can link the one to the other, and it makes it so that the traceability of what we're doing is pretty rock solid. So we're really heavily involved in our costings. I'm not like a data freak of like trying to work out what cattle are going to do better or what producers do better or any of that. I don't get over the top about that. What I'm worried about is knowing exactly what my cattle cost to the cent. Good. And then it doesn't matter how good they perform or what bloodlines they were or what sale yard I bought them out of. If the data at the beginning isn't exactly true and correct, then all the rest of it's just an assumption.
Yeah, great. And how do you go in terms of, I know there's certainly some of the future ideas we've got for that portal, and I think I mentioned the other day we're sort of calling it Mine House. There's a hell of a lot more that it could do. Is the market data, what's your main source of intel, if you like, to get a picture of what the market's actually doing? And how much does that influence your purchasing decisions?
Well, my source of data is I'm big on you've met me a few times now, Marcus. Like I like to converse, to chat, and I'll ask questions. I ask lots of questions, and I say my opinion. Yes. And I've just got a few guys in the industry, feedlotters and processors, and stuff that I talk to that are active in the market as well, and we'll just discuss, trends or whatever. But I guess with regards to the data, the biggest thing with data is the same thing as what I said about our data, is if the information at the start's not true and correct, then it makes it a bit difficult to use the data to my advantage. So a good example might be the person putting the data in puts the animal as an Angus steer, but it's actually a Frisian Angus. So it skews the data. So they go, well, the Angus steers that weighed 400 kilos made from $3 to $5.80. Well, what's the $3 animal doing in that category? He doesn't belong there. He's obviously not something that the people that are paying $5.80 or $5.60 on the top end of the market, that they're foregoing, or they're walking past that animal. He's being purchased at a discount. What is that? Why? So I guess if you were going to have a market tool, the main thing is that the grading of the animals going into the platform, that's where the data. And so as a result, I don't look at like the ECI with a whole lot of excitement or any data collection outside of our own, other than the fact that the data that might be able to be gathered just gives me a feel for the sentiment of the buyers. Sure. Or where their cattle are potentially being oversupplied and where we might be able to buy cattle. So I'll look at the ECI. I know the ECI, but it's just about whether I think the producer sentiment's really strong. And that usually relates to the season or whatever. But then you look at like the sale yard data, you might say, well, there's been recent times, got a great example, they're yarding 10,000 cattle at Tamworth or 9,000 cattle at Wagga, but there's 3,500 cows in that number and 3,000 weaners. And I don't want to buy cows or weaners in that period. So really the number that I'm looking for is what feeder cattle are available.
Yes.
So if I was able to say accurately or within a reasonable level of tolerance, like at Wagga on Monday, there's going to be 700 Angus steers there that weigh between 400 and 500 and 300 crossbred steers that weigh between 300. And I was confident that was true and correct or pretty close to it. Then all of a sudden I can make decisions on whether I'm going to go to Wagga myself and buy the cattle or I can get a commission buyer to buy them, or I can say, don't worry about it. There's only 100. We're not going to be able to, 10 feedlots aren't going to be able to buy 20 each if there's 100 there. We'll sit it out. We don't need to go down there. So that information, the entry and the ability for the agents to accurately put in what they've got at the point of their cattle being yarded, so that then I could go on there and look on there, instead of seeing 7,000 head yarded Tamworth Monday, I could go on there and look on there and say, oh, look, there's 500 Angus store cows that are being yarded. Well, that's an order. That's an article that I'm looking at to buy. Well, that's useful.
You'd use that to make a decision to get in the car and go.
I'd be able to go on there and say, well, I'm not going to worry about going to Tamworth tomorrow. I'll go to Wagga. There's 3 times as many feeder steers at Wagga tomorrow. But I can work that out myself by making a few phone calls, and
of course
you go with your stomach on a few things like that. But if there was a way to the induction and the booking at the point where the agent's going, this is how many I'm going to yard on Monday, and this is the breakup of it, and it was accurate, that would be really good.
Yeah, great. No, that's great feedback. Yeah, and I think other things, even at a simpler sort of level, just like you touched on before, to be able to say, well, they're described as Angus, but you're looking at black and white animals getting off the chart, like they're either Frisian cross or black bodies or who knows what.
Yeah.
For you to be able to refine and tidy up that data yourself, because you now want that you want to improve that data going into your system from that point moving forwards.
Yeah, exactly.
That is definitely something that is really at the forefront of our minds at the moment, as we're getting the architecture for this mine system right, to be able to handle those potential conflicts and just accept the fact that mistakes are going to keep happening in sale yards or in the paddock too. And that was another question I was going to ask. What sort of rough idea would you, or does it just vary too much where you go, well, how are you sourcing via sale yards versus direct?
I suppose I'm probably one of the few that buys most of my cattle out of sale yards.
There you go. Yeah.
And I don't do that for any other reason other than that we have a system where we draft our cattle a lot at induction. So I'm happy to buy a pen of steers that might have cattle in them 300 kilos and 450 kilos or milk and twos or whatever, and we draft them up, and then we put those cattle into the different programs that we're doing, whether it's backgrounding on grass or putting into a paddock with a feeder when we're going to get them. So we do a lot more drafting than say the conventional 20,000 head feedlot that wants to buy an Angus steer from 400 to 480, and he's got a grid price and then a bunch of discounts off the edge of that. I'm happy to buy, like I've bought plenty of mobs of cattle where we'll buy 500 cattle in one mob, and they might weigh from 280 to 580. And we just go, well, we can handle that because we'll send them to our whatever block. And we'll know we'll draft off the heavy feeders and they'll go into that paddock for that job or that pen. We'll draft off the light cattle and we'll send them onto our oats or an adjustment paddock. And so I like doing the sale yards because I believe that I can do a better job purchasing my cattle there because there's more opportunity to buy cattle that maybe are misfit, or, a pen of 50 crossbred cattle which has got 10 Angus in it.
Yes.
They get sold at an Angus discount because they're not all Angus, or there's 5 that are Angus and the rest of them are Brangus. We can use those cattle I can use those cattle. So
yeah, great.
Yeah, so I do buy paddock cattle, and I'm buying more and more as our scales got bigger. Yes. We buy more cattle and we're more competitive because we can be. You can't. Like when we were selling a load a month, 50 cattle a month to Jack's Creek, when we started, we were selling cattle to Jack's Creek. We're doing 50 head a month. Like I could chip away and buy 5 a day at a discount that maybe had a bad eye or a bull or whatever, and I could do that. And now we do 1,000 a week, so I can't use the same mentality that I used then. I can't physically buy enough cattle that are being sold at a discount because they're, whatever their issue is that the other guys aren't willing to buy it. We could do something with. So we still buy those cattle, but we just we process them in the same way we used to. But we still need another 900 a week that are exactly the same as what big processor feedlotters are buying. So I reckon it'd be 90% sale yard. And like I said, I've come through the sale yard system as in buying. My uncle John Cummins is a 80-year-old cattle trader that's been buying cattle in the sale yards for 60 years. I was trained by him when I was a kid, a boy. So I like the sale yard system. I like dealing with agents, use their network, use their, they've got clients that need a paddock of adjustment cattle, for example. And they often offer them to me because they know I go to their sale all the time. We buy cattle off them. Yeah, gotcha. So I use that sale yard network in a fashion that is advantageous to me and to what I do, and then creates a good relationship with the guys we deal with. So I'm not a big online cattle buyer. Like I don't use any of the platforms much, and there's nothing wrong with any of the platforms. I just prefer to go there and assess them myself, and I know the guy that is assessing the cattle for me, the cattle buyer for me, I trust that he's going to assess them in the way that I want them assessed.
That you would, yep.
And I go, well,
there's still still is a huge amount of subjectivity, isn't there, in the game?
They're unlimited and and I find that the sale yard market is the most consistent in what the value of the livestock is in the actual market. I find sometimes some of the paddock transactions and online transactions can be at a premium because they want them to be pre-treated for respiratory disease or preg tested, all these things which are valuable. Yes. However, I feel like sometimes those things are overvalued in the paddock scenario versus saying, well, I think I can go to a market and I'm willing to say I might have to buy a portion of pregnant heifers, but I'll preg test them out and we'll do something else with them, or I'll buy cattle that aren't vaccinated for BRD and I'll vaccinate them in my own program and then put them in the feedlot. So, that's probably the complete opposite to every other feedlotter that's hell bent on all paddock purchases. But that suits their operation, and currently what we do suits us.
Yeah, good. No, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. And if there were, in a futuristic sort of scenario where there was a pen of cattle there, these ones are just, we don't know anything about them, but the next pen here, they've suddenly got verification stamps on them from different grass-based programs or some program we don't even know exists yet that says these guys have got all this data that are going to come with them and improve your data. Would you pay a premium for that?
Yeah, definitely. We buy majority of the cattle we buy are Angus steers and or Angus heifers. But if there was a way that on the platform that the preg test certificate was uploaded,
yes.
That would be absolutely brilliant. Bottle numbers for Bovilus or stuff like that, that would be great. And animal health decks and stuff like that, definitely, because I don't pay a premium unless I have to, but I will pay a premium if I'm standing there and I go, that pen of cattle are preg tested empty and have had a Bovilus. I will pay a large premium for those cattle versus the ones next to them that aren't. And a lot of the time it's just a trust system between me and the agent selling them that they've done those things. But
yes.
That would be a really good way. In particular, like at the weaner sales and stuff like that, when you're buying those big runs of cattle, if you were able to dig back into AgriNous and say, these 200 steers we bought at Hamilton, they were by Pathfinder Angus bulls.
Yep.
Then you could say then follow them through and say, well, those cattle actually did perform really well for us in our system. We bought them at whatever sale. They came off this producer, off that agent. You can inquire about that for sure. Whereas a lot of the time, like we'll go to the weaner sales and I will have a preference on different genetics that I think suit what we do best, like maybe they're high marbling genetics or high growth or whatever.
Yep.
I only just go off the plaque that's written up. But if all the relationship I've got with the agent over the course of the last 5 years where I've bought the cattle every year, but if there was that said, these cattle are dead set, Pathfinder genetics, and they were able to have Pathfinder say, they buy their bulls from us every year, it's fair income. They don't buy one every third year, they buy them every year. Well, all of a sudden then you go, well, this is worthwhile doing, and they don't show up in the market. You can say, well, where are they? Like, are they in the paddock still? Can I, they've been sold to another weaner producer where I could buy them as a feeder. Then it definitely have more ability to target and trace back like what you've done.
Great.
With an RFID system. Obviously, it'd be great to be able to see that not only what sale they came from, but if they were like a verified something, whatever it might be.
We did do a little pilot with Angus Australia back just as COVID was kicking in, actually, with that Angus Verified program. So we can actually. I think there's a few different factors. I didn't know why exactly it didn't take off as such. Maybe it has, but we just don't quite.
It's too onerous, mate, on getting people into a verified Angus program.
Yeah, so if
like
they were,
it's got to be easy. You know this with producers. They need you to prove to them unequivocally how it's going to benefit them. They need to be 100% sure that it's not going to cost them anything. They're going to get back more than what they pay, and they need to know that the people that they respect around them in whatever part of the industry, they're doing it too before they'll look at any of this stuff.
Yeah,
so when you've got to make it so that it's easy for them to get on board, and that's what I've said to like you and to Joel and stuff is like the lot of the people involved in what we're doing, they're used to the system they're using. The system they're using works really well. Then when they go and make a change, they go to AgriNous and then they're having trouble settling their sale, they're having trouble getting the RFIDs right, and it's all just it's just AgriNous, it's just too hard. We want to go back to what we were doing. Whereas you get the other agents that I know, and they use it for their billing and all this, and then, maybe they've taken over the business from another partner that is retired, and they want to have that stuff and access to their system, and they want to be able to see what their admin team's doing in the office and what they've built out, and they're like, this is the best thing ever. And I'm standing there next to them going, yeah, it's good, we can use it. Then you can go around the corner and then they're saying, this is just pissing me off. Bloody app won't work. And that's nothing new. It's not AgriNous problem. It's just technology and the adoption of it.
It is, when you're dealing with
it's really slow.
Yeah, that's it. It is an ongoing challenge for any tech company, really. With that, you get your ones that want to jump into it all guns blazing and want to work with you, and others that are just struggle with the change. But that's all part of the gig, I suppose. But yeah, we've also done some work just on that grass-fed stuff. We've done some really interesting work with Greenhams actually, and it's a lot simpler, and it's more just at the pick level, and we're showing that programmatically checking if that producer is part of the Never Ever program or not, and and there is some pretty interesting results starting to come out of that now that we've been doing that work with them for well over a year.
It's just as long as it's nice and easy. As long as it's nice and easy, if you can just tick a box and say I'm a XYZ Angus blood, and then all it means is that the Angus stud needs to say, yeah, Marcus buys his bulls from us, then it's like, well, that's useful. Whereas if it's like, I've got to get them DNA tested, and I've got these other black baldy cows over there that are, not in the system, but they are, like, it just gets too hard, and they just go, this bugger. And I'm not seeing any actual benefit from this other than a pain in the ass bit of administration. Then it makes it tough.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's been awesome, Jeremy. And time's slipping by. We could probably keep yakking for a fair while, actually. But I'm mindful of your time, and you're a busy man. But one other thing, and I've been sort of trying to use this a bit of a theme. Anything that you've changed your mind about lately?
I'm probably nothing to do with AgriNous or anything, but I've probably changed my mind about how important it is to feed test our grain and grain sample our grain on arrival into our feedlots.
Okay.
There's a lot of secondary grain that gets bulged into people or screenings and stuff like that. So I guess there's a definite an opportunity there where you can have verified this wheat came from this producer or this bunk, and this is what the screenings and the test weight and all the particulars are, and it went on to this carrier and it showed up at our feedlot and everything's tickety-boo. But that's where I probably thought that it wasn't as bad as what it is. But I think like getting grain that's just out of spec a bit, that's probably there's no malice in any of it. It's just like it'll be right. We're feeding cows.
Sure.
Whereas we're like, we've changed our tune on that, so we're implementing grain testing, which is fun.
And you can notice the difference.
No, we can't notice the difference yet because we actually haven't implemented it, because you've got to put a bit of infrastructure in and do a bit of stuff. But all the people that I've talked to about it said you'll notice, because all of a sudden you won't have any out of spec grain coming at all, because they know that if it's wrong, that it's going to get rejected.
Yeah.
Whereas if they know that if it's maybe not quite right, then they go, we'll be right, we'll just send it.
Slip it through, they're not checking.
Yeah,
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you.
So that's probably, grain testing is probably something that I've really underestimated and then changed my mind on.
Oh, that's fascinating, mate. That is fascinating. Well, thanks very much for coming on, Jeremy. That's been a bloody awesome chat. I didn't actually expect us to cover so much, so thanks again for being open and sharing all that feedback and everything, mate. We're looking forward to putting some new features in front of you soon and seeing how we can keep on helping you out and helping out the rest of the industry as well.
No, that's fine, mate. No worries at all.
Appreciate it. Well, we'll see you around the traps. Thanks again, Jeremy.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
Okay.
Catch you.
See ya. Thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe or follow. And if you've got any feedback, jump on our website and you'll find all our contact details there. We're all ears. And also, if you've got anyone you want us to get on the show, please don't hesitate. We're really open to that too.